Oh shit. Why are you swearing that? Ah. Why are you swearing shit? Huh?
Yeah, bruh. You're red on the outside.
What's your thoughts on the new Jags 2022 ethos? Get shit done, yeah?
Yeah, like all fans, mate, stick to it.
Jags 2022. We don't care. Pop stars, mate.
Don't say that.
The pop stars. No, we've been a bit behind.
You're not even leaving that in. Cut, start again. So 2022.
2022. What does 2022 bring for us, the Jaguars? Interesting conversations between two blokes, cut together with really pretty imagery.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's it. That's it. That's what you're gonna get. 2022.
Sorry.
2022. Justin's
Interesting conversation number one.
Justin has reignited his fear of death.
I haven't.
Probably because of his lack of psychedelic use over the last
Well, that's interesting.
year.
So there's one key point that you just brought up. It's not been massively used over the last year. So is that a reason why my untimely death seems to worry me again? Yeah?
Is
That's
it?
one. That could be one reason. The other reason could be we were and we have been through a pandemic where mortality is brought to your attention on a daily basis,
Yeah.
which could subliminally be affecting me in some way.
Yeah.
Thirdly, a close
Nice, I was figuring that.
a close
Yes,
friend,
COVID.
close friend and associate
Yeah.
passed away, which, you know, I think it started before that, but that hasn't helped.
No. A friend of ours recently died.
Sorry, I sniffed. Yes, a friend of ours.
Very suddenly, young,
died.
heart attack. Kind of brings it home. From a death perspective on my part,
You don't have a fear, do you?
no, I don't. I don't like the thought of my kids. Hello, doggy. No. I don't like the thought of my kids
That's
being without me.
That's what started it for me. Back
But the
back in
actual,
my youth.
the actual process of dying, providing is, I don't think. Do you see
Okay, so you're just about to go into something that I looked up.
the process of dying?
I looked up last night a fear of death, right? Because obviously, if you want to know about stuff, yes, honey in it. It's nice, isn't it? If you want to know about stuff, you've got to read about it. So I had a little paranda last night for the first time after having these fears come up and down for the last 30 odd years. And there's three thingies which I haven't got my phone on me, so I can't get it up. But the last one was the one which I identified, which is having an anxiety. I'm not feared of dying or the actual death. If I'm in a car crash, I mean, with the job I've done, with the work we do, you can't have a fear of death if you're worried about falling off the building or doing what we were doing back in our youth, yeah?
No.
So, the reality is, it's not the fear of death, it's not the dying bit, it's the end of my mortality, which I've discussed before. There's a phobia, anxiety. I get anxious if I think about me not existing anymore. I get anxious.
But you don't know that you won't exist.
I don't. No, but every time I've got, because if you
In some capacity, in some perceptual state change that we are aware of, that you know, when you have a breakthrough DMT experience,
yeah,
you go into this perceptual state change that you never knew was possible, and you know yourself when you're in that, when you go into that state, you leave behind, you shed this meat skin, and you go into that space, and there is no thought process of wives and children, like in that state. So the dying process and the death,
That's if you take...
maybe something completely different to that.
Right, so 20 years of doing what I've been doing, basically built upon, so if you look at psychedelics today, the fear of death, terminal illnesses, they give you psychedelics and it eases your comfort, makes it a little bit easier. How much is a gauge? So the last 20, 30 or 20 years, I've had these fears come up, and psychedelics have been a way of, if we look back, the first time that those feelings started to properly subside is when I started doing psychedelics. But then the second part of so something will convince me of something and I'll start looking into it, and then because of my constant materialistic way of thinking, so it's not something I want to feel, my brain wants to break it down. So whatever you put in front of me, like, yeah, but you've been on DMT, it's so much like the near-death experience.
Don't you think it's funny though, can I just pull a point there, when you said my brain wants to break it down, like you identify the two things as separate.
What do you mean?
Well, you just said my brain wants to break it down. So you're looking at something that wants to break. You're looking at something. It's like I'm the brain.
I can't help. No, my brain just will find an argument and then bite onto it and go, "See, you can't. See, you should be scared. See."
Yeah, but like I say, do you know what I'm saying about the?
And then I'm like, what the fuck? And I have to try and find and grab hold of something else.
Well, there's one. Okay, right. So there's one thing that makes it easier for me, thinking about dying.
Yeah.
Don't get me. It's not easy. I don't go fucking piss.
No,
mate.
don't get me
I'm
wrong.
Just walking around in some, superhuman state, thinking, if I die right now, I couldn't give a shit. I know I'm going on to a better place.
Oh, I felt like that.
But for me, a thought pops into my head. And when I think about death, and I think there's two factors to it. Everybody's dying.
Yeah.
Right, everybody. So even if your children, your granddaughter, she's dying, mate.
Yeah,
she's going to die.
Well, yeah,
she's going to die.
She's still a baby. But.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, though, right? So my kids, everyone's going to the same place.
That was the most painful thing.
It's just a matter of time.
That was the most painful thing that started off.
One more thing to add to that, and you can carry on.
Yeah,
right?
no.
So everybody's going to die.
Yeah.
And time doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, that was another key thing that got me out of it.
So it's like this juxtaposition of we've got this temporary appreciation of time, and on that timeline, every human being that's on it is going to die.
Yeah.
Take away time, and we've already, you know what I'm saying?
You are neither here nor there. You're just existing in one little slot, and if there ain't no time, then that slot is forever.
Yeah.
Because this moment right now, boom, will never go away. It's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I do have that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not desperately fucking fearful or getting depressed over it. It's just like you said, they're moments in contemplation. Where I suppose when I was a bit younger, I was a bit more spiritual. So those moments of conversation or contemplation were. Well, let's leave that for a bit.
Well, actually, I think I don't think I'm contemplating enough. That's half my problem. My problem in life is I'm not contemplating. I used to think very deeply about stuff. And at the moment, I'm just not even giving a shit. That's my battle at the moment. Yours is dying. Mine's just mine's being a shallow.
Dying's not a battle. I'll give you that. And my problem at the moment is I'm thinking and analysing everything because of the massive life changes. My whole thought process is having to change now because I've got so many different options available to me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, what do I want to do? Do I want to get this massive business running again and make loads of money, or do I really give a fuck about any of that?
Don't know.
Sorry, I swore. Do I care?
So, yeah.
But anyway, so
it's not the Juzzy and Paul, what should we do with our live show, is it?
No, it's not. Right. So, but so what is the point? So what is the point of the conversation? The point of the conversation is, well, what we're going to re-embark on some psychedelics.
We are going to get into some psychedelic experience,
and let's just see
for the last 6 months.
We can just leave this one hanging in the air. People can comment and talk to us about what they're, if they understand what I'm talking about, if they're coming, because people have different anxieties around death, and mine is literally just the non-existent part. If I was if a meteorite came down now and took me out, that wouldn't bother me. If I was involved in a car accident or I fell off a roof, or that isn't a fear for me. It is the after bit. Even the bit of winding up mangled in hospital on a ventilator, coming out of it going, oh, I'm still here.
But that's a weird...
That don't bother me.
Yeah, but the non-existence thing is a weird...
I know. Because you don't know, because you don't exist. But therein is my...
Yeah, but there is that is... Yeah, you need to seriously do some psychedelics, right? Because that never leaves me. That there's a continuation in my head, even regardless of how low I feel, what mood I'm in, what's going on.
You see, that's the faith.
I have a faith.
It is a faith thing.
That this is a bigger picture.
Yes.
That's all it is. That's all I can say about it.
It is faith.
There's a bigger picture.
Right.
Because there's got to be, Juzzy.
Why?
Because
why
look
does
at
there
the
have to be?
intricacy of the universe you live in.
I know, mate.
There is design to it. Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
there has to be. It's
okay,
too
listen
big.
to me. Do you know
it's
what?
Too big.
Do you know what?
It's too big.
I'll put some perspective on that. There is, right? And there's an existence, and we go on. But how do we go on?
Well.
And so if I'm to believe that I'm part of the oneness, then I'm no longer me anymore. I'm part of the oneness.
I think it's probably.
So what you're talking about is some sort of heavenly type spiritual transference of Paul who's drifting around the ethereal, seeing his old aunties and his mum and dad. Well, what is it then?
I think there's possibly some kind of part of that as maybe you move through, because you're kind of calling on all of your past, I don't know. I don't think there's like alright, get a job interview, I'm going to mop the
good life. Is it good life, good place?
Yeah, no, I don't think there is that. I think it's bigger than what we can perceive. Like how can you, we can't perceive, you can't...
Okay, and there is, so there is...
It's like a level up, right? You level up, and once you've levelled up, it's like the dragonfly. It's the story of the... Do you want me to tell you the story of the dragonfly?
So when did I hear that the other day?
So there's once, I'm going to keep it brief, right? And this kind of sums it up. I heard this at a funeral, funny enough.
Oh, yes, of course, that's where it was, yeah.
There was a dragonfly nymph. Right?
Make it quick.
At the bottom of the pond, with all his whirligig beetle mates. Right, he's kicking around at the bottom of the pond, and every so often he sees a dragonfly nymph climb the stem. And they climb the stem until he can't see him no more. And he goes up the stem, and he's like, what is this, there's a void. There's a void. So he goes back down with his mates, and then one day he just does this urge.
No, they all agreed it will go back.
To climb
Whoever's
the
next one to go up the stem has to come back and tell him what's up.
So he climbs the stem, right, and he kind of goes into this blackout mode, and when he comes to, he's got these glorious multicoloured wings, yeah, and he's like looks around, and he's just got the world, the whole garden in front of him with big leaves
buzzes
and
around,
trees, and he's buzzing
going
around.
mental, having a right laugh.
This is unreal, this is amazing, this is unreal. I've got to tell my mates.
Yeah.
Dink on the water, dink, 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 and you can see them all at the bottom, but they can't see him.
Yeah, and he can't get back.
And he can't go back.
Yeah, but that's
levelled up.
It's a beautiful story.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
You've got to believe.
I like it.
You've got to believe that there's a levelling up.
I do believe there's a levelling up. You've seen the level up, mate. You've been to the level up. Yeah, your brain. I'm not going to try and convince you. It's not my place to do that. Anyway,
you ain't going to convince me.
That'll do for now. Yeah.
So, okay, but yeah, like, subscribe, comment on what we've been talking about, because we definitely want to hear about that. We will pick this back up after some time and some more, maybe do an update, but we'll see how we go with this over this year.
We're just going to keep going.
And we'll see what happens with this conversation about my anxiety over the end of me.
And then once we've had some more psychedelic experiences, which we are going to endeavour on very, very shortly, we can come and report back about that. And Carl Hayden Smith has given us confirmation, as Justin said, that we can drop this extended state video interview with him at the beginning of Feb, so that's only a couple of weeks away. Spring's coming, sun's out,
there ain't
guns
gonna be no
out.
spring. It's going to be ice cold for a bit first.
Yeah.
Yeah.